Join us today for an action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball, where we review the 2023 season for the historic Atlanta Braves.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, Locked On Fantasy Baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by Locked On Sports Network, your team every day. As always, your number one source for fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Matthew Ane, and you can find us on all social media platforms and podcasting apps. And if you can, please leave a 5-star review, 5-star rating, and review on Apple or Spotify or wherever you may listen to give us a boost. It would be a great help to the podcast and one great way to help support the show. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, please click the bell below so that'll subscribe you to the channel and give you alerts every time we drop a new episode. Lastly, if you want a more in-depth personalized experience with us and get more than just what we give here on the 30-minute podcast, join us on Subtext with our Diamond Club. That'll give you all the off-season information you want that we're not providing here on this 30-minute podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Jace Medical. Empower yourself when you purchase Jace Case, providing you with personal supply of 5 antibiotics that treat 50-plus infections. Get yours today at jacemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com. All right. Now I'm done with all my word twists and tongue twists and everything under the sun. Let's talk Atlanta Braves. Atlanta Braves, what a wild season. Best team in baseball, hands down. With a historic, there we go, OPS. Incredible season from a lot of these guys. And it's just awesome. This team is incredible. Unfortunately, they just love to choke against the Phillies in the playoffs. So we're not going to be able to see how far they're going to be able to get. But it's really nice to see what this team can do when they're fully healthy. And I think there's more great to come. So let's get into it. Let's talk about the best player, the MVP, Ronald Acuna. Ronald Acuna, what a season, man. This is unheard of and completely unprecedented. Completely outplayed whatever I could have possibly projected, dreamed up for any player, hands down, let alone for him. And I knew he kind of had a season in him like this. When I say kind of, I mean, I always thought 40-40 was realistic. I mean, that's just obvious. But to get to the 73 stolen bases, that's just incredible. Let's read off what he did this season. 643 at-bats, 149 runs, 35 doubles, 4 triples, 41 bomberamas, 106 ribs, 73 stolen bases, 80 walks to 84 strikeouts. Oh my geez. Like, wow, how you doing? 337 batting average and an OPS of 1012. This is a historic numbers from start to finish. And if you drafted him number 1 overall, and if he fell anywhere past that, you are feeling like you struck gold. Ronald Acuna literally won leagues for people single-handedly. Like, he was a cheat code all year long. Ronald Acuna is phenomenal. I love this dude. He is going to be the number 1 pick in fantasy drafts for the next decade. He is point blank the best player in baseball at only age 25. Like, man, oh man, this kid literally is on a Hall of Fame path, and I can't wait to see what his career has in store for him. Let's talk about the other impressive bat on this lineup, and that's Matt Olson. Matt Olson just having a year, man. Bounce back year. And when I say bounce back, really just bounce back in terms of kind of more of what I kind of thought I would see from him, specifically in the batting average category. He just had an unreal season. Man, if you owned Matt Olson, you were happy. 608 at bats, 127 runs, 27 doubles, 3 triples, 54 bombers, man. Let's go. 139 ribs, a stolen base, 104 walks to 167 strikeouts, batted 283. Batting average is literally 40 points higher than last year. 40 more runs this year, 20 more bombs this year, and 36 more ribs. He just took it to a whole nother level, blew his stats out the window, and just had a monster season. This is nearly repeatable for him. I don't know if the batting average is going to be 280, but it's not going to be too far off. Anywhere from 265 to 275. I think that is more attainable. And I think the home runs are completely legitimate. I think the runs and ribbies are 100 were legitimate because of the team around him. You know, you got Ronald Acuna, you got Ozzie Albies, you got Michael Harris, you got Ozuna. You got so many players. You got Austin Riley. How could I miss him? Like, you got so many names in front of you that just like, how are they not going to perform and seriously take it to the next level? Like, it would blow my mind for him to have anything less than what he did this year. So, Matt Olson, incredible season. You know, probably my number 2 first baseman this year. In all honesty, I think I've taken, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. down a tick. Yeah, he's number 2. Bryce Harper is my 3. Pete Alonso is my 4, and Vladimir Guerrero is my 5. So, I mean, you look at Matt Olson, the season he put together, it's just absolutely bananas. Matt Olson is going to be fantasy gold for next year. I am so excited to draft him. I just can't wait to see what round he's actually going to go in, because I have a feeling he's not going to be able to get outside of the second round. And I wouldn't be surprised if he started sneaking into the end of the first. Matt Olson would be worth it at any of those positions. I am super excited. I can't wait for draft season. I'm so mad baseball's over already. Let's move on here. Let's talk about Ozzie Albies, somebody I called and I knew he was going to have this season. And I hate my Apple Watch. Let's just put that off to the side. I knew this season was coming. I saw it. It was written in the stars. Ozzie Albies was going to do exactly what I thought he was going to do, and he did. Ozzie Albies this year, 596 at-bats, 96 runs, 30 doubles, 5 triples, 33 bombs, 109 ribs, 13 stolen bases, batted 280, 46 walks to 107 strikeouts with an OPS at 849. The only thing I'm surprised really wasn't like there this season would be stolen bases. Like, that was the most surprising stat to me of what, like, his season ending number. I really thought he was going to get to 2025, which really would have took him to a whole nother level in terms of fantasy value, but he was still probably a top 30 player this year if I had to go based off of roto leagues. He was just incredible. I called this. I actually bought low on him this year and was able to sneak one out right before, he really started getting hot. And you know what? I definitely don't regret it. I ended up getting one of the best bats in all of baseball this year. Ozzie Albies really just took it to a whole nother level. And man, oh man, it is special. It's sad. This episode's probably going to move a lot faster than the other one because I just don't have much to say outside of good things. And you run out of good things when they just do everything right. I can't poke holes in a single player on this list until we get towards the bottom. So probably as we get down to the nitty gritty on, less common players, we'll get maybe I'll have a little bit longer take than a couple minutes. But before we move on and we, keep going with this great list, Austin Riley's up next. Make sure to tune in right after this sponsor. We spend a lot of time talking together, you and I. We get fired up together on wins and loses, who starts, who sits, and I'm thankful for a connection we have. And today I want to chat and be a little bit more personal. I just learned that you can get a 1-year supply of ED medication. You realize what this means? Bring on the extended travel. Bring on the natural disaster or supply chain issue. You are covered, my friend. You don't have to worry whether or not you can get a refill of your generics for Cialis, Viagra, Invito prescriptions. And this is possible because our friends at Jace Medical. Go online right now at jacemedical.com to receive 12-month supply of your daily medication. Remember to use the promo code Locked On for a discount. A verified customer had this to say about Jace. I am thankful for this service. Supply chain issue made me have to cut my pills in half in order to have it every day. I ordered most of my daily meds for a year's supply. I also ordered the antibiotic kit. I feel secure now. Prices are lower than local pharmacies. I highly recommend this for everyone. If you or someone you love would feel comfortable and a peace of mind with having a year supply of daily meds, go to jacemedical.com to see if the offer is right for you. Remember, use the code Locked On at checkout for $20 off your purchase. All right. Let's talk Austin Riley. Austin Riley. Man, oh man, oh man. He did exactly what we thought he was going to do as well. Dom was super high on this dude, as was I. But this is like Dom's dude. But he's not here today. So I'm going to hopefully do him justice like Dom would, as long as my internet cooperates. Austin Riley just had an incredible season, and everything we drafted him to be, he was. Sorry about this, guys. Wife has to watch Selling Sunset, and it has to kill my internet a little bit, but here we go. 636 at-bats, 117 runs, 32 doubles, 3 triples, 37 home runs, 97 ribs, 3 stolen bases, and batted a whopping 281 with an OPS of 861. Austin Riley really just had a great season. Like, hands down, phenomenal. Right on pace of what he did last year. It's beyond repeatable. I don't foresee him not having the exact same season next year. He is going to do it. And quite honestly, he's going to be drafted nice and high as well. He is my number 2 third baseman going into next season. And quite honestly, if I leave the draft with Austin Riley on my team as my starting third baseman, I'm a happy boy. Thing is, you're going to have to get him in the second round. And you know what? I'm not really mad at that. I mean, you know, if you walk away with a really nice steals guy and then you go and you scoop up Austin Riley in the second, you know, your team is pretty much set for the year right there. You have a strong base that you could build around and then, you know, do pretty much exactly what you need to do. Like, it's going to be fun, really, just having Austin Riley on fantasy rosters next year. It's going to be very exciting, and he's not going to disappoint, hands down. So definitely draft Austin Riley. But let's move on. Let's talk about somebody that honestly left me wanting more and thought it was going to be a better season as a whole, and that's Michael Harris the second. You know, he ended up turning it around after a certain point, and hopefully I can get that breakdown for you. It was in the second half, but man, it was rough going for the young stud here. 505 at bats, 76 runs, 33 doubles, 3 triples, 18 home runs, 57 ribs, 20 stolen bases, batting 293, 25 walks to 101 strikeouts. Oh man, I wasn't an owner. I was trying to buy low on him pretty much all year because I knew that, you know, you couldn't keep his talent at bay for too long. Michael Harris did eventually turn it around, and when he did, it was great. It just came much later in the season. He was being drafted in some drafts in the first round, and at latest the early second round. Michael Harris was, you know, by all fantasy projections and everybody who was interested in drafting Harris this year projected a much better season from him, and was quite disappointed with his performance in the first half. So you look at his stats through, sorry, I'm trying to get this up. Here we go. Through like April, he was batting 200. Didn't even have a home run through that whole month. May had 2 home runs, was batting 167. Like, that's not what you want. Then June, he kind of started to kick it in a little bit. He was batting 2. And June pretty much just rocked out from there. June, he had 98 at bats, 94 bats, 17 runs, 6 doubles, a triple, 5 bombs, 14 ribs, 4 stolen bases, batting 372. July, batted 290 with 2 home runs. August, 336, 4 home runs. He also had 7 stolen bases that month. Then in September, he was batting 301 and had 5 home runs in that month. Like, he rocked and rolled from June on and was fantastic. So, like, if you got lucky, you were able to buy low on Michael Harris, like, you made the right decision. He probably won you your league and thrusted you into the playoffs at that point. Michael Harris just really, and I love everything that Michael Harris had to offer. I feel like next year he should do much better and start earlier. Like, I think we'll see this from June on for a full season next year, and it's going to be fun. Michael Harris is a special talent, and I can't wait to see what he does for your lineup next year. Let's talk about Marcell Ozuna. First off, I love what the Philly fans were doing to him during the playoffs, like just screaming DUI. It was amazing. Like, they got in his head. Plus, he just couldn't hit Alvarado for nothing. So it was great. Between him and Olson, they just struggled with the high velo pitches. But Marcell Ozuna put together a nice season. I'll hate on the dude left and right because he's not my favorite person. I don't think he's a good person, but for fantasy baseball, I have to overlook that. I can't draft with my heart. I have to draft with my head and who's actually going to produce for me so I can win my league. So with that being said, Marcell Ozuna is one of those players. 530 at bats, 84 runs, 29 doubles, a triple, 40 bombs, 100 ribs, 57 walks to 134 strikeouts, batted 274 with an OPS of 905. Now, he hasn't hit over 250 since 2019 until this year. I don't know how legitimate. I'm also not counting 2020. I don't know how legitimate the batting average is. If he's hitting 250, I'll be happy with it. Everything else I think is pretty legitimate. The home run numbers, the ribbies, the runs, that stuff is all repeatable for him. I don't foresee the batting average being up at the 270s. It's just not my thing. Even though he's a career 269 hitter, I just think he's more of a 250 guy. I think he's selling out for power a little bit more, even though he's got plenty of power in the tank. But, he's only had one season, now that I'm looking at his career, with over 30, one other season over 30 home runs, and that was in 2017 where he had 37. The closest he's got since 2019, and that was 29 home runs. So, I mean, I think the power is legit, and I think he's just selling out for power this year. The ball just dropped a little bit better. Maybe he's taking advantage of the no shift, and maybe that's just what it is. Maybe he's benefiting from the no shift rules. We'll see, I guess. But I don't foresee him being that good. Maybe I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. We'll say we'll come to the like average, I guess, or the middle ground here, and I'll say like 265, and we'll just leave it at that. And with that being said, like, Marcell Ozuna would be a valuable asset to draft next year. I don't think I buried him in my rankings because, I mean, you definitely shouldn't. I know that I'm also not done exactly, but Ozuna, oh man, because I'm putting myself on the spot here. I have Ozuna at 26, which I think is a fair ranking for him at outfield. He will be on a great team that is going to provide him runs and ribbies. He's going to hit power, and you know what? They're going to be fighting for another World Series, another shot at the World Series next year. So Marcell Ozuna should benefit from it. As long as he could stay out of the courtroom and on the field, we should see a lot of Ozuna and some fantasy production. But before we move on, we start talking some pitchers and start really getting into this roster. We have one last sponsor for you. All right. Let's talk Spencer Strider. My guy had an abnormal year, in my opinion. So Spencer Strider is usually like this super elite, powerful pitcher. And I mean, let me retract a little bit. He still was. Don't get me wrong. I wasn't expecting his ERA to be what it was this year. I wasn't expecting him to give up games and get hit around as much as he did this year. And I don't know what it is, but I feel like he's going to correct it. He's too special of a talent to be, this down. Now, the difference between last year and this year is he gave up 22 home runs versus 7. Like, that's a massive increase. But I also think that's a little bit on the fluky side. I feel that's going to come down at most maybe 11. And his 386 batting average is not real because I'm looking at his FIP. I mean, not batting average, ERA. And his FIP, which is fielding independent pitching, if you're new to the podcast, or if you don't know what FIP is, it's fielding independent pitching, which is to show if you had an average defense behind you and what you actually were pitching. So, maybe there was quite a few plays where his defense let him down and it wasn't pitching because that's at a 2.85. And that seems more legitimate. That seems more like the Spencer Strider we know. And everything else about Spencer Strider was great. He had a 109 whip. He pitched 186 innings and had 281 strikeouts. Like, that number's bananas. So ultimately, he won you the strikeouts category and 20 wins to boot. So, like, he did his thing. He only lost 5 games this year. Like, way to go, Spencer Strider. Like, you had a great season, even with that inflated ERA. He is my number 1 pitcher next year, I think, going into next season. Like, I really didn't do my pitching rankings yet because, no, my number 2. I haven't finished it yet, but I think I got my top 5 going. Spencer Strider's my number 2. I'm going to just pick Cole. Cole is just consistent. He's Mr. All Reliable. But Spencer Strider is, that guy that's just going to be the one we talk about as the number 1 pitcher for like the next decade because he's still a young pup too. He's 24 years old. He's younger than Acuna, funny enough. So Strider is going to be elite of all elite. And, if he could somehow keep his cool and allow the fans to enter the stadium, then, we can get along. But yeah, Spencer Strider, great pitcher. Pitcher 1 upside, and strikeouts and wins obviously are going to be unreal and unmatched. So Spencer Strider, must draft, number 2 pitcher. Let's move on here. Let's talk about a guy that just couldn't stay on the field this year. Eventually made it back, but ultimately was not a great down the stretch, but still finished off the season pretty great. I know it's like I gave you kind of like a poop sandwich. Like, I didn't like his performances, and then he kind of turned it around a little bit, and then he just kind of got lit up. It got a little bit of bad luck, but ultimately he did do good in his limited appearances this year with 77 innings pitched, 80 strikeouts, a 2.55 ERA with a 1.13 whip. 8 wins to 1 loss, like, fantastic season for the short period. I think I'm just more disappointed in the fact that he couldn't stay on the field because if he was, he would be a top end pitcher. Like, last year was incredible. 185 innings pitched, 170 strikeouts, a 2.48 ERA with a 1.01 whip and 14 wins. Now, I don't know if he's going to have a sub 3 ERA next year or whatnot, but I think that a low 3s ERA is definitely doable for Fried. He definitely has it in him. I just really hope he could stay on the field. He's starting to get this little tag of injury prone. Flanges guy. Flanges injury prone is just funnier to say that way. It's a little nickname that's stuck around for injury prone guys. I mean, we might just start calling it the Montasy. We'll see how I feel going down the stretch. But Max Fried, ultimately, I feel I want to draft him. I'm not drafting him too high. I haven't finished my rankings yet, but he'll probably be in the 30s range because I just want to build in his injury into his price and kind of see where it takes me. And then, as I fill out draft season, as I see him in spring training, he may move up for me. But right now, I'll probably play a little bit more on the conservative side with Max Fried and where I do and don't draft him. Well, let's move on here. Let's talk about Charlie Morton. Charlie Morton, you know what? He had a really good season. Much better than I thought it was going to be. Let's put it that way. You would have told me Charlie Morton did this, I would have looked at you cross-eyed. And for no other reason than the guy's 39 years old. And that's really just about it. Well, that and also his ERA last year left you desiring as well. And he was being drafted pretty high. But he just seemed to figure it out and bounce back. 3.64 ERA, 163 innings pitched, 183 strikeouts, a 1.427 whip on the season. That's pretty high. I'm not really thrilled about that, but also 14 wins this season. That was a really nice stat. Like, I was willing to deal with the whip because everything was pretty nice. You couldn't really ask for more. You got him at a nice discount this year. And then he turned it around and just kept going. So Charlie Morton as a whole, fantastic season, fantastic price of what you paid for him. He was probably like a pitcher 4 on some teams. And you were just smiling ear to ear after you scooped him up because like, wow, this dude's my pitcher 4. He's really getting it done for me. How you doing? Like he had all the tangibles and makings of, a real thrust to your rotation and, be a I wouldn't say league winner, but a playoff thruster, somebody that was able to push you and set your rotation above the rest of the league. And you really caught a value on him. So Charlie Morton really did it for you. All right. Let's talk about the waiver wire darling for the first half and the absolute disappointment for the second half. And that's Bryce Elder. Bryce Elder, honestly, just made me sad. He came up and was a house on fire, just smoke show. And then, man, maybe it's fatigue. Maybe it's, the pressure. Maybe it's just, I don't know. Maybe somebody decided to tinker with him. And I'm going to tell you what. This year, he pitched 174 innings. Last year, he pitched 54 in the bigs. And I'm trying to get his minor league stats to pop up, but, my internet. But anyway, he got nowhere near. This was definitely a career high. We definitely saw the fatigue kick in, and I think, that's really just where we're at with it. Yeah, I'm looking at it. The highest he's ever pitched was 137 in 2021. So, like, we really saw a downtick in just his energy. And the strikeout, the K per 9 definitely wasn't there. And we know that he pretty much has it looking at his minor league stats, So I think a lot of things just came into play and just wasn't there for him, being that he was well over what he's comfortable with the workload. But let's read his stats. 174 innings pitched, 128 strikeouts, a 3.81 ERA with a 1.277 whip. He just played down the stretch and really just got ugly in that second half. I'm going to pull up the splits between first half, second half, and really kind of dive into what really happened, because first half was, wow, I just got a steal off the waivers. And it was like, okay, like this is a lot of upside. This kid's about to, pretty much allow me to do a victory lap on my league mates and be like, look, I got the best waiver wire pickup nice and early, which is crazy too. If you think about it, most of the best pitching pickups for this season are usually in the beginning of the season, funny enough. Sorry, let's talk about first half, second half. So first half, he had a sub-3 ERA at 2.97. He had 106 innings pitched. He had 80 strikeouts with a 1.19 whip. Those stats are fantastic. Right? Here's the second half, though. He had 68 innings pitched. He had 48 strikeouts. He had a 5.11 ERA with a 1.398 whip. Like, he just fell apart. And it all started in, can I get it? There we go. In July. Right after July, he just took a flat out, fell on his face. 5.6 ERA, 4.8 ERA, 5.68. And then we saw the playoffs too. Just was not impressive. Was not able to get it done. I just am not a fan of Bryce Elder's second half. Now, Matt, where do you see Bryce Elder? What do you think he's going to do? Do you think he's going to be worth drafting? And the answer for me is yes. I do think that Bryce Elder is going to be valuable. I do think that Bryce Elder is going to be good, but the question is where? Where am I willing to take him? What am I willing to have him as? And I haven't decided yet. So it's TBD. But let's put it this way. I don't think, prematurely at least, I would feel bad if he was my pitcher 5. Anything higher than that, I think it's ugly. But I'd prefer and feel more comfortable at 6. But we'll see. And once I get my rankings done, I'll be more specific with you guys. And we'll be able to give you a better breakdown. But with that being said, guys, we're going to close this out. And I want to thank you guys for making us your first listen each and every day and hanging out with us each and every day. Hopefully we get Dom back soon. But with that being said, guys, have a great night, and we'll see you on our next episode.